Hey everybody, guess what I just got? COVID, and it kind of wrecked my voice, but I still want to make a video, so I asked myself, what kind of a video can I make without saying a single word that a lot of people want to watch? It turns out the answer to that was actually really simple. I just need to make a repair video, but a real one this time. You know, one of those real ones with the black gloves and the white background and the devices that were definitely broken in the way they said they were, that aren't creepy at all and weren't made by a serial killer. But since I wrote that video while I had a fever, the production is getting a little bit out of hand. So I just did what every reasonable, rational, sane adult does when they feel their voice isn't at its best. I bought 3 microphones. Well, actually, I bought 4 microphones, but this one came from Goodwill and sure hasn't gotten back to me on the spare part. Actually, it was 5 microphones, but I returned one of them. So anyways, I've got 3 working microphones for you to unbox and test out. We'll see how that goes. We have the 512 Audio Tempest. We have the Skylight, also by 512 Audio. And we have the blue Ember. Let's go smallest to biggest and see what we have. First up, the blue Ember. The Blue Ember is normally $100, but I paid $55. Why is it discounted so much? Probably because Blue is a dead brand and Logitech is clearing out old stock. So you should probably get this thing while you can, or don't. I don't really care. All right, we got a shiny embossed logo, black on black. They obviously really want you to know that this is a side address microphone. For those aspiring microphone designers out there, an easier solution for this is to just not make a microphone where it looks like you need to talk into the top. We've got our documentation. Okay, this card is saying condenser microphone and nothing else. Phantom power, XLR connector, XLR cable not included. Those are all of the words on this page. Its output impedance is 40 ohms, rated load impedance 1k ohm, power requirement 48 volts at 10 milliamps. And that is all the information this side of this paper contains. We have safety and warranty warnings, and we have safety and warranty warnings. Great. Is that all of the documentation? Yeah, I think that's all of the documentation. Honestly, I hoped it would have come with a more complete manual, because Blue, being a dead brand that Logitech is killing off, part of that transition is Logitech essentially hasn't made a product page for it. You can't download the manual, there's no videos, there's no parts available. You kind of only get what it comes with, and it didn't come with much. The microphone itself is a small diaphragm condenser, front address, like we talked about. It appears a little bit bigger than I thought it would. Let's just measure this real fast. Looks like it's about 9 inches long. Yeah, okay, my bad. It's not very big. Below average for a studio microphone, at least. The Blue Ember does not come with a shock mount, just a basic clip. Solid metal, which is nice. I'd say overall the microphone looks pretty classy, but you're probably going to want a shock mount for it. Based on the press release for this microphone from 5 years ago, they said this will work with the Blue S3 shock mount. Now, you can't buy that anymore, and there's no product page on Logitech's website or on Amazon, but when I plug that into Google Images, the shock mount that comes up looks a lot like one I already have. It came attached to my Blue Baby bottle, which I'm using currently. Blue Baby bottle being a $400 microphone that is currently $160 because, say it again, Blue is a dead brand and Logitech is clearing off old stock. So let's put this microphone in place of my other microphone and see how that works. It occurs to me that I just unplugged my main microphone and I wanted to talk, so I'm just going to be using my AT875R, which is usually recording what's on the desktop here. Actually, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to cut past this. Okay, good news, that works, mostly. It rotates a bit too much in place than I would prefer. It's a little loose on that front, but it screws on just fine. Now, why you would use this microphone over the baby bottle if you already have the baby bottle, that's anybody's guess. But on the plus side, this also means I can use the mount for the more expensive microphone I already have. So that's a little bit nice. Now, I'm sure you want to hear what the Blue Ember sounds like, so let's move on. And for the remainder of this video, I'm going to be using the Blue Ember while unboxing the 2 other mics. So I switch over to the Blue Ember, no pop filter, pointed at the corner of my mouth, being recorded with a Zoom F3 where you can't set the gain. I'm going to be moving around as I normally do, so hopefully that'll give you some idea about the distance response. As I move a little bit further away and closer to the microphone, we'll see how it goes. All right, what did I say we're doing? Smallest to largest? 512 Audio Tempest. This one's special because it is a large diaphragm true condenser microphone that works over USB and USB-C, fortunately. Most USB microphones use a much smaller electret condenser, which you can see in this video where I try to upgrade a different USB microphone with a larger capsule. Spoilers, it doesn't work. Okay, opening it up, we have a welcome message, and that is a lot of words. 512 Audio is a new brand to me. As far as I know, they're a spinoff of the brand Warm Audio with the intention of making cheaper, lower-end, more affordable devices. First up is a booklet, which is nice and thick, much better than the blue Ember. Welcome. Congratulations on becoming an owner of Tempest, a true studio condenser mic with USB-C connectivity. Tempest features a zero-latency stereo headphone output, adjustable volume, digital gain, push-button mute, and a violet LED-lit microphone capsule. Specs. Okay, 34mm large diaphragm gold-plated capsule, 48 kHz 24-bit, cardioid polar pattern, 20 kHz frequency response, 45 dB max gain, zero latency monitoring, USB-C to USB-A cable. There's 14 pages of real manual. It is very verbose, and there are no pictures, not even a frequency response curve. So this is their quote-unquote premium mic stand. The legs are metal. They click into place, and then are quite sloppy once they are in place, and the rest of it is plastic. The mic stand with the Majority RS Pro is way more premium than this, just saying. The shock mount is made out of metal and O-rings with 2 spares. Not too bad for what this cost. This gasket here is a really cheap foam. If you don't like the shock mount, it also includes a regular mic clip, which is also all metal. It feels pretty nice. Not as nice as the one that came with the blue Ember, though. Noticeable size difference there. It does not come with an adapter for different stands, but it's threaded for both types, which I usually kind of like. Now, the shock mount does not come with threading for both sizes, and again, no adapter, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Okay, so this shock mount does not want to go on this stand very well. I tried to do it right, and I think I immediately cross-threaded it. They just don't want to go together. Let me try this guy. Okay, mic clip, way easier. We're just going to use that. Now for the piece of resistance, the microphone itself. The construction feels pretty sturdy. These knobs feel great. And the mute button is not that clicky. Here's your size reference. Let's see how easily it comes apart. Yeah, this is just cheap chrome plating down here, though. Not my favorite. Oh, yeah. Does that do it for you? The internals of this microphone are a bit different. There's usually not a plastic guard over half the board. There's also this secondary board up here, which if I had to guess is probably generating phantom power for the capsule. One thing I do like is these conductive pads here to make sure that the body is making contact to ground. Okay, let's pull this top off. Oh, interesting. So there's 3 circuit boards. That's going to add to the cost. Speaking of cost, this microphone is listed at $160, and I bought it new for $35. Was it marked down so much? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. There's the capsule itself, full-sized. They weren't lying. The capsule looks like a really common part I see all the time on AliExpress. That's not necessarily a bad thing. If it sounds good and if it's cheap to replace, what more do you need? And then we have the LED shining up right through that little hole, and I see no way to turn that off. If you wanted to disable it permanently, you can cut these little legs right here. Okay, let's put this back together. These knobs are not keyed in any way, and that is really annoying. Okay, good enough. The build quality seems all right, and that is a 512 Audio Tempest. We'll do some sound tests at the end, but first, let's move on to the Skylight. The 512 Audio Skylight. And before I forget, this microphone is normally listed at $200, but I spent $50. So it's listed as more than the Blue Ember, but I paid less. So will this be a $200 microphone or a $50 microphone? Let's find out. This is a studio condenser microphone for streaming, podcasting, and gaming. That's 4 different things. Pick a lane, Skylight. Okay. This is going to be exactly what we expect from a studio microphone, a large diaphragm condenser with a cardioid polar pattern. They say it's inspired by vintage studio microphones, and they are promising low self-noise. I also think it looks kind of neat. Okay. This is a higher quality foam than what's in the USB microphone, for what that's worth. The user guide comes in a baggie for some reason. And look, there's even pictures this time. Only 12 pages of real instructions, no frequency response curve, and it's even more verbose than the other one. Playing the gain. It's a pun. It's like playing the game. Setting the gain on the low side and moving in close to the microphone will produce a breathy, intimate tone that's perfect for any... Next page. That's perfect for any major motion picture trailers that you might be hired to narrate. So all these words are written for a beginner who's also doing movie trailers, which kind of explains movie trailers lately, actually. So yeah, somebody was having fun writing that. Bonus. Okay, let's get the box out of the way. Shock mount. It's made out of metal and bungee cord. Here's the routing of that bungee cable. If that cable breaks, you probably won't be able to see which way it was going. It loops around the center here one time and then goes in and out of each prong. Aren't I a nice guy for showing you that? All right, it comes with a pop filter. Pop filter did not want to come out of there. It's made out of 2 layers. There's a metal mesh inside and kind of a really fine plastic mesh outside and more bungee cable. We have a microphone bag that will not fit either of the accessories and a microphone in a Ziploc bag that has been twisted up instead of zipped. And here's the microphone. It's pretty large, pretty girthy. It's heavy, not quite as heavy as something like a King B2, but I imagine not every mic stand will be able to handle it. Allen wrenches to open the bottom. That's unfortunate. No serial number inside of it. I'm not 100% sure what this grid is made out of. My money is on cast aluminum. The top and behind the grill is sort of this steel wool looking mesh. And ow. There's a wire sticking out of there. Don't know how well this will pick up on camera, but there's one lowly solitary wire sticking out of that steel wool quite uncomfortably. Jammed me in the finger. Good thing I was wearing gloves, huh? These are very handy. There it is in all its glory. Can't say they've ever been stabbed by a microphone before, but I probably deserved it. As far as how these grills go, there's kind of a rough edge on the inside edge. I assume they're molded or cast, but they haven't been done completely smoothly or completely consistently. This one's going to be even harder to show on camera, but there's just a tiny bit of a rough edge on the inside of that. I don't think it's a big deal, but it is a little bit noticeable. The threading is a little bit rough. It's not quite as bad on the microphone, but on the shock mount, it's not great. I think their threading tool is dull or worn out. It's rough. It's like it needs to be deburred. Let's see how they screw together. Okay, they went together totally fine, and once they're screwed together, that's a complete non-issue. This is a bit of an issue, though, because I'm always going to want the shock mount on the microphone. It doesn't come with a different clip, but now it doesn't really fit in the bag anymore, and that's kind of a bummer. The shock mount, really quite nice. It comes with a thread adapter for different mic stands. That's good. Here's your size comparison. Pretty much the biggest microphone of the night. And there's the pop filter. I kind of dig the look of the microphone, but the pop filter kind of ruins it for me. So far, not knowing how the 512 Audio Skylight sounds yet, it feels like somebody designed a $200 microphone, but they built it to the quality control, fit and finish standards of a $50 microphone. Should this be a $200 or a $50 microphone? Maybe somewhere in between, but so far I like it. Wait, what's this? Where'd that come from? Now, saying that, I already knocked a little rubber piece off of this pop filter. It goes right here, and it doesn't want to stick back on. Yeah, fit and finish, guys. Maybe work on that. Looks like we've seen all we can see. Time for some sound tests. How about that, right? Bet you like that. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear this, but this water bottle rings when I clap. So hopefully you haven't been hearing that the entire time. This is my hair. All right, there we go. Much better. Okay, so my choices of camera location are either too high or too low. So hopefully you'd rather see the top of my nose rather than looking up it. Let me know in the comments if you'd rather see up my nose or the top of my nose. So this is the blue Ember microphone in the position you've been hearing it this entire time. I've been at varying distances. Sometimes I'm over here. Sometimes I'm over here. But you've been hearing it this whole time. So this is what it sounds like from about 2 fingers worth of space away. This is me about a fist away. This is what it sounds like from a foot away. Here I'm from 2 feet away. That's about as far as I can get on these headphones. Hopefully it doesn't pop too badly because I just recorded a lot of video with it. Looking directly into it from a fist away. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. This is the blue Ember from the front of the microphone. This is the blue Ember from the side of the microphone. This is the blue Ember from the back of the microphone. And this is the blue Ember from the top of the microphone, which they don't want you to do. Personally, I wish this was a top address microphone. It'd be more convenient, but it's going to sound better from the front. That was the blue Ember. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, next up we have the 512 Audio Skylight. We're doing it second because, frankly, it's easier. The shock mount itself doesn't seem to love being on its side. It's stretched pretty close to its limits. This is the 512 Audio Skylight from about 1 fist away. Here's a 512 audio Skylight from 2 fingers away. Here's a 512 audio Skylight from 1 foot away. And here's a 512 audio Skylight from 2 feet away. Okay, I'm talking to the front of the microphone, right by the logo. Here's what it sounds like from the top of the microphone. Here's what it sounds like from the back of the microphone. And here's what it sounds like from the side of the microphone. Does this sound like a $200 microphone or like a $50 microphone? Let me know what you think. Let's try the plosive rejection from 1 fist away. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Hopefully it doesn't implode too much. Here's the 512 audio Skylight with its included pop filter. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. By the way, the blue Ember does not include a pop filter. Here's that pop filter at an absurdly close distance. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Now I'm back on the blue baby bottle, which is a $400 microphone that has been marked down to $200 for a long time and is currently $160. Is this microphone 2 or 4 or 8 times better than the blue Ember? Let me know what you think. The switch is on flat. And in case it matters to you, here's the baby bottle again with the low-cut filter switched on. Next up is the 512 Audio Tempest. It's plugged into my laptop using the included USB-C to USB-A cable. And yes, it does include the cable. I just forgot to show it earlier. This microphone is a little sensitive. I have the gain set to 25% on the knob and about 70% in Windows. I'm monitoring it directly using the headphone port, and it's working just fine. First, I have to address the elephant in the room because this microphone promised a violet LED. And that's clearly a blue LED. I mean, come on, man. If it's blue, just say blue. So here's the 512 Tempest from about 1 fist away. Here's the 512 Audio Tempest from about 2 fingers away. Here's the 512 Audio Tempest from about 1 foot away. And here's the 512 Audio Tempest from about 2 feet away. This is what I sound like from the front of the microphone. This is what I sound like from the top of the microphone. This is what I sound like from the back of the microphone. And this is what I sound like from the side of the microphone. Let's see how it does with plosives. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. Tip, top, tip of the hat, tip of the top hat to you. This does not come with a pop filter, but I think it needs a pop filter. Here's what it sounds like when I'm adjusting the knob for the volume. And here's what it sounds like when I press the mute button. And here it is with the mute button back on. Off. Here's what it sounds like when I press the mute button. And now it's back on. Again, that's a 512 Audio Tempest, which I'm going to use for the conclusion because my Zoom F3 is out of batteries. For a final comparison, we have the Audio-Technica AT875R short shotgun microphone, which is essentially a small diaphragm condenser. Blue Ember, also a small diaphragm condenser. Is this a fair or worthwhile comparison? Maybe. I'm mostly just doing it because those are already here and plugged in. Now it's time for my favorite part of the episode, conclusion time. My camera battery is about to die, and my Zoom F3's battery died. So you are currently hearing the 512 Audio Tempest with a pop filter on my laptop. Do I think the 512 Audio Tempest is worth $35? Yes. Do I think the 512 Audio Skylight is worth $50? Yes. Do I think it's worth $200? Do I think the blue Ember is worth $55? Yes. Do I think the blue Ember is worth $100? Maybe. Do I think the blue baby bottle is worth $200? Probably. That's what I paid and I'm enjoying it. That said, I much rather would have spent $165 on it. Do I think the blue baby bottle is worth $400? I wouldn't have paid that. There's very few microphones I would pay $400 for, and this is not one of them. Do I think the Audio-Technica AT875R is worth $170? Will I definitely use this more than any of them on the table because I'm trying to make videos? Well, if you're making videos and you don't want the microphone to appear in that video, this is the only shotgun microphone, so it's the only one of these you should actually buy for that purpose. But I bought it used, and you should probably buy it used. Just try to avoid a counterfeit. But now, for the burning question on everybody's mind, is the Shure 565 SD Unisphere 1 with a missing plug worth the $3 I spent on it at Goodwill? And the answer to that is a resounding yes, if I can get a new plug for it. And I don't know if I can get one yet. I'm probably just going to buy a generic plug and just kind of disable this little switchable impedance feature. That is a future project I might not make a video about. So if you're like me and you have COVID and you're stuck at home delirious with a fever and you're looking for 3 microphones to impulse buy, don't buy anything. You should not be making major purchases while you're sick. Go take a nap or something, man. And don't go into work. Goodbye.